I'm so happy to be here. Thank you all for coming. And I'm very happy to be reading this poem. I'm going to read 4 poems, poetry in the Ramsey County Detention Center, because actually I wrote 3 or 4 poems that were published in the book that came out last year, Stopping for Breath. It was an extraordinary, I worked with the Juvenile Detention Center in Boys Totem Town with the staff and the students for 6 years, off and on. And it was an extraordinary experience. So this is the one that's in the book, Poetry in the Ramsey County Detention Center. We come from separate compartments, they from carols, I from my usual routine, form a circle, except for the young man next to me who turns away. I read poems, they read, taking turns, shy. Then surprised at the voice that emerges, a hoop of language, a circle of light compared to the concrete blocks of their confinement. Every pencil numbered, every fork counted. We sit in freedom, the door of language open. Breath warms the circle that begins where it ends and goes round again. We sit in the circle and read and breathe. This one is called Jazz Trumpeter. He was a nationally famous trumpeter, Hannibal Lacumba, who came and worked with the boys at Boys Totem Town, and I was very fortunate to sit in on his session, his longest session with the boys. While he was here, he was in his first production at the Guthrie, and I forget what that production was. This would have been 3 or 4 years ago. The poem is Jazz Trumpeter, and it opens with an epigraph from Hannibal. You are not who this country says you are. His voice is soft, and he stops often. The young black men around the table fidget with their braids, sprawl. Doing the right thing, he says, is harder than 100 Chinese push-ups. A pause for push-ups. The boys take turns making the triangle with their hands on the floor, getting their chins down into that triangle. He wears them down, his silence with his voice. He waits for them to find their way, and they do. One tells of the grandmother related to Ida B. Wells, another to Leadbelly. None of these boys is nothing. On their faces, a sense of calm, as if some confusion had been ordered. Hands quiet in their laps. He takes up the trumpet, the slow wail, shows them what to do with sorrow. The last poem I'll read is called Monday, and in this particular classroom in Boys Totem Town, the teacher had one of those clocks with birds, a different bird at every hour, and then she had a standard clock. So I always thought of it as the schoolroom with 2 clocks. Monday. In the schoolroom with 2 clocks, bird song, and gears without a face, the boys and I are writing. They have stopped their whines and whys, have settled into, where would you live if you could? We all write, and it is quiet. The scratches across paper, they stop, erase, flick the dust off, and continue in the room of 2 clocks. When they finish, they come one by one to stand by me while I read. Then I look up into their beautiful, calm eyes and ask, do you have family in Chicago, in Atlanta, in Miami, on Mars, in the jungle, in Oklahoma, a mother 4 states away, a father unknown. They do. One tells me the weather is perfect in Chicago. Another that you live longer if you live in Rio de Janeiro. I say, no, you don't. But do you know the statue of Christ in Rio? And 2 boys grin and open their arms wide.